Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's get into this wild encounter where someone seriously misunderstood the situation on multiple levels. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. I don't work there, and you certainly don't work here. This happened a few years ago when I was assistant manager for a pet specialty store. We were in a strip mall with other shops, including a beer store, a discount department store, a bank, some fast food options, etc. Pretty generic. I was a little early to work, so I popped into the department store to pick up some things for the store. Toilet paper, coffee, cream, things. And I have my little basket, and I'm also facing cans as I go because it's a habit. Our uniform at the store is pants, blue jeans or dress pants, didn't matter. Just not tights or leggings, and a black polo shirt. Managers, assistant managers had button-downs, but they were still black. I have my fancy button-down on and black pants because I get to sit in on my first interview as we're trying to get some permanent part-time help to cover evenings and weekends. The uniform of the department store is a black blouse, black dress pants, and a yellow smock/apron. I suppose it was the black on black and the facing of cans, but this woman comes up and begins demanding items on discount and gets even more aggressive when she's met with a blank look because, seeing as I don't work there, I have no idea what she's talking about. If she would have been quiet for a moment, I could have explained it, but she continued to talk over me. Eventually, she works herself down, and I try to explain that I don't work there and she's having none of it. So I just walk away. I have no intention of being late because I start at 1 and the interview's at 1:30, and I want to be settled in and make sure I've had some time to go over everything with the manager. I head to the checkout, and lady follows me. It isn't until the GM of the department store tells her that I don't work there, I work elsewhere in the plaza, and that she isn't allowed to harass customers or ask that they be fired from jobs they don't have, that she finally stops. Whatever, I brush it off and think, oh, this is going to be an awesome story for manager and coworkers. I pay for my things and go on. Well, 1:30 comes around, and guess who shows up for it? Oh yeah, guess who did not get to sit in on her first interview because the interview didn't even happen that day? I mean, I'll give her credit, she seemed to want to go through with the interview. Why would she still think she had a chance of you employing her after she treated you so badly? I can imagine what was her reaction to finding out. I hope she looked sufficiently embarrassed about her behavior when she realized she had been abusing the person who she was hoping would be her manager. And our second story. The HOA sold my land. My name's Alex. I've changed names and a few other details so that this kind-hearted individual won't sue me, and I live in a small town in northern Michigan. It's a beautiful spot. In the summer, the lakes are a bright turquoise and you can smell the pines. In the winter, snowdrifts pile up to your waist. Temperatures drop below freezing, and there's skiing not too far away. My wife, Lena, always says that we have our own little Switzerland here, especially when fresh snow covers the rooftops. We once bought our dream home in this place with a large yard and a cozy fireplace. A few years ago, we got serious about the idea of traveling around the world and decided to make that dream come true. While we were gone, we decided to rent out our house so it wouldn't just sit empty. Before leaving, we completed all the paperwork, found what we thought were reliable tenants, and set off on our journey. But neither Lena nor I could have imagined the trouble awaiting us when we returned. When we got back from our year-long trip around the globe, we noticed a lot of strange things. The first thing that shocked me was how the boundary of our property looked oddly trimmed. The familiar high fence made of dark wood that used to run from the house out to the road was now missing entire sections in some places, and in other spots only short wooden boards were sticking out. I tried to figure out what was going on, so my first stop was my neighbor, Harold Smith, president of our HOA. Harold's quite a character. He's round like a barrel with a chin that's pushed back and barely noticeable thin mustache. He always strolls around the neighborhood in shorts and a Hawaiian shirt. Yes, even in winter, just throwing a puffy jacket on top. He also carries an enormous binder of documents around and is constantly educating everyone on how to live their lives. When I walked into his yard, he was talking to some construction worker. Looked like somebody was pouring a concrete walkway. The worker seemed displeased but was quietly nodding as Harold talked to him. Me, knocking on the gate. Hey, Harold, I'm back from my trip. Got a minute to talk? Harold turned around, raised his eyebrows in surprise, but quickly switched to his usual condescending and businesslike look. Harold with a sneer, Oh, Alex, wow, you're back already? Well, come on in if you must. I stepped into his yard, cluttered with pots holding dried-up plants and piles of broken bricks. Harold put his hands on his hips and looked down on me, even though he's half a head shorter. Me. Harold, I noticed part of my fence is gone and my property boundary seems to have shifted. You know what happened? Harold snorts. Yeah, well, you see, there were some changes to the HOA's land plan. We've been looking to widen the driveway to our communal storage area where we keep all those road maintenance tools. So we decided your lot was too big and, yep, we sold off that little piece. According to the paperwork, it's now a shared space. Hope you don't mind. I was stunned. How can you just go and sell off someone else's land? And why is he saying we? I'm the owner, not them. But not wanting to escalate things right away, I tried to keep calm and find out more about these documents he mentioned. Me, through gritted teeth, Harold, what are you talking about? That's my personal property. Nobody can just sell it off. Lena and I never gave any consent. Where are these documents? Harold shrugs. They're at the HOA office, all signed off at the highest level. I personally talked to a couple of influential people at the municipality, and they approved the deal, so there's no way you can fight it. Me, raising my voice. Harold, are you completely out of your mind? That's illegal. Harold just waved me off. Harold, pointing his folder at me. Watch your mouth, Alex. You have no idea what connections I've got. You go against me, and I'll chew you up and spit you out. I realized there would be no talking sense into him. He was threatening me with lawsuits and bragging about his political ties. But the law's on my side. I decided professional help was the only way to go. First, I consulted a lawyer friend by phone. He advised me to hire a good private investigator to collect evidence of Harold's wrongdoing. So that's what I did. I called an agency recommended by a friend. The detective's name was Ray Harris, a short but broad-shouldered man around 40 with a guarded look in his eyes. He listened to me very intently. Ray, after a brief pause, So, Alex, you're saying your neighbor, the HOA president, illegally sold your property? Me, sighing. Yes, it sounds absurd, but Harold has these fake papers claiming I agreed to transfer the land to the HOA before I left on my trip. He also has backing from some municipal officials, probably owes them favors, so they're turning a blind eye to it. Ray. Got it. I'll start gathering evidence. Need to see which officials helped him, who signed off on those documents. You've got a lawyer, right? Me. Yeah, I do. His name is Matthew Reynolds. We're meeting tomorrow. Ray, nodding. Great. I'll keep you updated. In the meantime, try not to pick fights with Harold. Let him think you've given up. The less on guard he is, the more we can find. So that's what I did. For 2 whole weeks, I tried to avoid Harold, although he never missed a chance to remind me of his authority. One time at the school bus stop, he came up to me chewing gum with his mouth open. Harold, cocky, heard you got yourself a lawyer. And a detective, too. Go on, keep wasting your money. We'll see who the court believes. I've got connections and rock-solid evidence, you know. Me, coldly, Harold, I don't have time to discuss this out here. Have a good day. Harold, hissing after me, we'll see who ends up behind bars. I just turned away silently and drove off, not wanting to waste more nerves on him. A month later, Ray Harris contacted me. Ray, on the phone, Alex, I've got everything we need. I found out Harold forged your signature. Even more interesting, this wasn't his first scam. This time, though, he went too far. Looks like he's had some corrupt minor officials in his pocket. But in your case, it's so blatant that we can nail him. I was floored. I hadn't expected Harold had been doing this sort of thing before, but now that we had real evidence, we could take decisive action through my lawyer. Matthew Reynolds met me at his office downtown. Matthew placing documents into a folder. Alex, we're filing a lawsuit based on fraudulent appropriation, document forgery, and several other charges. You'll need to testify against Harold. Are you ready? Me, firmly, of course. Matthew nodding in agreement. Perfect. Let the detective know that his report and gathered evidence will be our primary proof. We'll also need to interview the tenants who stayed at your house while you were traveling. They may have seen Harold poking around your yard. I called the tenants, and they said Harold had shown up several times with official papers demanding they approve some changes. They obviously didn't sign anything since they weren't the owners, but Harold clearly thought he could bury his shady additions amid a flurry of fake signatures and stamps. The trial was set at the county courthouse for about 2 months later. During that entire waiting period, Harold strutted around the neighborhood acting like a king. He argued with the mail carrier, publicly threatened me with his contacts, but one day his bravado suddenly seemed to fade. Maybe he felt the ground was slipping out from under him. Harold, running into me at the store, trying to sound confident. "Alex, you know the court case could drag on and it won't get you anywhere, right?" Me, calmly. "Yes, I know, but it beats letting you steal my land." Harold snorts, but not so confidently anymore. "You're underestimating my power." On the day of the trial, Harold showed up in his usual style, in a loud Hawaiian shirt wearing a gold chain. He smelled of sweat and cheap deodorant. His trophy young wife Carla sat some distance away, legs crossed, nervously scrolling on her phone. Rumor had it she married Harold for his money and connections, but from the look on her face, she knew the money could run out fast. The court hearing was a bit bizarre. Harold tried to defend himself, apparently not trusting his attorney, who must have been hired just for show. He started yelling about his tremendous contributions to the neighborhood. Harold, shouting in the courtroom, "I'm the HOA president. I built a new playground and made improvements. Do you think I did all that for free? I have every right to manage these lands for the common good." The judge, an older man in glasses, repeatedly asked Harold to stay civil until he finally fined him for contempt of court. When Detective Ray Harris took the stand, he presented airtight evidence, a side-by-side analysis of the forged signature, unlawful boundary changes, and recordings of Harold's conversations with municipal officials, who were later also taken to court as accomplices. Faced with this, Harold grew visibly paler, glancing anxiously at the judge, then his wife, then the floor. When the subject of my forged signatures came up, Harold tried to defend himself awkwardly. Harold mumbling, I just wanted to help our community. Sometimes for the common good, you need to make, certain compromises." It was so pathetic that even his lawyer covered his face with his hand, obviously recognizing that this was a lost cause. A few days later, the court delivered its verdict. Harold Smith was found guilty of multiple counts, including fraud, document forgery, and illegal appropriation of someone else's property. He was sentenced to real prison time, plus a hefty fine and mandatory reimbursement of all my legal and investigative expenses. His young wife, Carla, immediately filed for divorce. She sold Harold's house, using the proceeds to pay off his attorneys and settle the judgment, and then took off to California with her new boyfriend. Honestly, I wasn't surprised. People said Carla always dreamed of living by the ocean, and Harold was just a bad investment for her. After this, the municipal authorities woke up and ran an internal investigation. Several officials involved in Harold's schemes were fired. Lena and I had to spend a lot of money on the lawyer and private investigator, but at least now our property and paperwork are finally in proper order. Plus, the neighborhood got rid of this arrogant, meddlesome loudmouth who was always barging into other people's affairs and acting like he ran the show. Well, here's hoping Harold enjoys a nice long stay behind bars and finds plenty of love there. Nobody should be able to steal someone's land and get away with it. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.